Let me share something that almost nobody has taken the time to explain to you properly. Right now, in 2026, there are three separate pieces of good news for American seniors. Three different pools of money with your name on them. And most people watching this will walk right past all three. Not because they do not qualify, but because nobody ever told them these things existed. After months of news about cuts and freezes and everything at the grocery store costing more, I want to do something different today. I want to hand you three ways to put real money back in your pocket. One of them can wipe out a bill you are paying right now, one that comes straight out of your Social Security check. One of them can take a serious bite out of the heating and cooling bill that hits you hard twice a year. And the third is an entire second check every single month that a huge number of seniors are convinced they are not allowed to receive. And they are completely wrong about that. Study after study shows that roughly 1 in 3 older Americans who qualify for these benefits never collect a single dollar. That is money sitting there with your name on it. So stay with me, because I am going to walk you through exactly what all three are, who actually qualifies, the one income mistake that causes people to count themselves out when they should not, and the exact steps to claim each one. Here is how this is going to go. I will take them one at a time in plain, simple English, no confusing terms. For each one, I will tell you what it is, who actually qualifies, and I mean the real income numbers for this year, not some vague reference to low income, and the exact way to claim it. I will also stop and warn you about a scam that follows this kind of money around like a shadow, because the moment there is a benefit seniors can claim, there is someone on the phone trying to steal it, and I am saving the biggest one for last. So stay with me all the way through. Most of all, pay very close attention when I get to the income part, because that is where thousands of people wrongly decide they earn too much and walk away from money that was theirs to take. My name is Walter Barron. I spent more than 15 years as an estate attorney sitting across kitchen tables from families and going through the fine print of these programs line by line. I am not selling you anything today. I do not work for the government, and I do not make a single dollar whether you claim these or not. I simply read the rules so you do not have to. And I explain in plain words what they actually mean for your money. And before I start, one thing I want to say. I do not care if you are 62 or 92, and I do not care if you are sure you make too much. Watch all three of these before you decide any of them is not for you, because the people who assume they do not qualify are exactly the ones leaving the most money on the table. Now let me answer the question I can already feel some of you thinking. If this is real, why has nobody ever told me? That is a fair question. And the answer is the same frustrating reason for all three. These programs pay out only what people apply for. There is no person whose job it is to look at your situation, pick up the phone, and say, based on your income you qualify for this, let me get you signed up. That person does not exist. The benefits sit under confusing names behind applications most people never even see. And the people who need them most, older Americans on a fixed income, are exactly the ones least likely to go digging through a government website to find them. So they just sit there unclaimed year after year. Today we fix that. So here's the first piece of good news, and it is one you can start on this week. If you are on Medicare, you are almost certainly paying a premium for Part B. That is the part that covers your doctor visits, and it comes straight out of your Social Security check before you ever lay eyes on it. In 2026, that premium is a little over $200 a month. Read that again. That is more than $2,400 a year pulled quietly out of your check month after month. Now here is the good news. There is a program called a Medicare Savings Program where your state will pay that premium for you. Not lower it. Pay it. Which means those $200+ a month stop coming out of your Social Security and your monthly check goes up by that exact amount. For a lot of seniors, that is the single biggest raise they will see all year. And it does not come from Congress, and it does not come from a cost of living adjustment. It comes from a program almost nobody ever bothers to apply for. And it can reach even further than just the premium. There are actually a few different versions of this program. The most generous version for the lowest incomes does not just pay your Part B premium. It also eliminates your Medicare deductibles and your copays, so those surprise bills after a doctor visit stop showing up in your mailbox entirely. The other versions for slightly higher incomes cover the premium itself, but every single version of this program puts real money back in your pocket. Now, who qualifies? And this is where I need you to stay with me, because this is exactly where people count themselves out and walk away from their own money. This is based on your income, and the limits are higher than most people expect. For 2026, depending on which version you are looking at, a single person can have a monthly income of up to around $1,800 and still qualify to have that Part B premium paid for them. And for a married couple, the line is even higher, up into the 2,400s a month. So before you wave this off and say I make too much, go actually check. A great many people who are absolutely certain they earn too much land right inside that window. Do not disqualify yourself in your own head at the kitchen table. Let the application do the math. Let me put a real face on this, because the numbers do not fully land until you picture an actual person. Think of a widow. I will call her Margaret. Margaret is 73. She gets a modest Social Security check. And like clockwork every month, a little over $200 of it disappears for her Medicare Part B before the money ever reaches her bank account. Margaret always assumed those programs were for other people, poorer people, not her. But when someone finally sat down and ran her actual numbers, she was under the limit. Her state took over that premium. And just like that, her Social Security check was $200 bigger every single month, around $2,500 more a year in her pocket. And nothing about Margaret's life changed except that somebody finally showed her the door was open. Most people never get that somebody. How do you claim it? You apply through your state's Medicaid office. And here's the easy button. You can get free help from your local state health insurance assistance program. People call it SHIP. They will walk you through the whole thing, and it costs you absolutely nothing. It is free to apply, and you should never ever pay anyone a fee to sign up for this. And when you make that call, you do not need to be an expert or have every piece of paperwork memorized. You just say in plain words, I am on Medicare, I am on a fixed income, and I want to know if I qualify to have my Part B premium paid. That one sentence is enough to get the ball rolling. They will ask you a few questions about your monthly income and walk you through the rest. You do not need to know the exact name of the program or which version you fit into. That is their job. Your only job is to raise your hand and ask the question. The people who get this money are simply the ones who made the call. And that brings me to the warning I promised. Because this is exactly the kind of money scammers love. Here is how it works. The moment word gets out about a benefit like this, the phone calls start. Someone calls, sounds official, says they are from Medicare or Social Security, and tells you they can get your premium refunded or your new benefits started today. They just need to confirm your bank account, your Social Security number, or your Medicare number. Stop. Hang up. Medicare and Social Security do not call you out of the blue and ask for that information to hand you money. They do not. If someone on the phone is rushing you and asking for your bank details to release a benefit, that is a thief, not the government. You go to the source yourself, your state office or SHIP, and you never give your personal information to whoever called you. All right, that is the first one. Let me give you the second, because this one hits a bill that I know keeps some of you up at night. Your energy bill. There is a federal program run through your state called the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program. Most people have never heard of it, and the ones who have heard of it assume it could not possibly be for them. This program helps you pay your heating and cooling bills. And depending on your household, your income, and where you live, it can put anywhere from a couple $100s up to around $1,000 toward that bill, usually paid straight to your utility company, so you never even have to touch the money yourself. Now here's the part most people miss, and it is a big one. When people hear the words heating assistance, they picture the dead of winter and nothing else. But this program covers cooling too. The air conditioning that for an older person in the middle of summer is not a luxury. It is a safety issue, and there is usually a crisis piece on top of that. If you have received a shutoff notice or your furnace or air conditioner has quit on you, there are emergency funds set aside specifically for exactly that situation. And here is the relief in all of this. Claiming this program does not reduce your Social Security. It does not count as income against you. And it does not take a single thing away from anyone else who needs help. I do have to be straight with you about one thing. And it is the reason I am telling you now instead of 6 months from now. The money for this program is limited, and when a state's funding for the year runs out, that is it until it gets refilled. States hand out help first to the households they consider most at risk, and older Americans on a fixed income are usually right at the top of that list, but you have to actually be in line. The application season is open right now through the spring, so do not put this one off until the cold sets in and the money is already gone. Picture a retired couple living on his pension and both of their Social Security checks, watching the gas bill climb every winter and rationing the heat just to make it work. They had never applied for anything in their lives, and they were not about to start. Figured it was charity. Figured it was not for people like them. One phone call later, several $100s went straight to their utility company. The crisis fund fixed the furnace that had been barely limping along for 2 winters, and the cold months stopped being something they dreaded. That help was sitting there the whole time. They just had to ask for it. How do you claim it? You contact your local energy assistance office. Every state has one. Or do the simplest thing possible and dial 211. In most parts of the country, that is a free helpline that will point you straight to the office that handles this program where you live. Free to apply. And once again, nobody legitimate will ever charge you a fee to sign up. Okay, here's the third one. And honestly, for the right person, this is the biggest of all three, because it is not a discount or a bill being covered. It is an entire second check. It is called Supplemental Security Income, SSI for short. And I need you to hold 2 ideas apart in your head, because this is exactly where people get confused. There is Social Security, the retirement check you earned by working all those years. And then there is SSI, which is a completely separate federal check for people who are 65 or older, or who are disabled, and who are living on a low income with limited savings. And here is the mistake that costs people the most. Most people assume that because they already get a Social Security check, they cannot possibly get this one too. That is simply not true. If your Social Security check is on the smaller side, you can very often receive SSI on top of it to bring you up. One does not automatically cancel out the other. For 2026, this amount went up. There was a cost of living increase at the very end of last year, and the most a single person can receive from SSI is now about $994 a month. For a couple, it is just under $1,500. Now, if you already have some Social Security coming in, your SSI is usually reduced by part of that amount, so you might not get the full number. But reduced is not nothing. A partial SSI check every single month for a senior on a tight fixed income can be the difference between the month working out and the month falling apart. Over a year, even a partial check adds up to thousands of dollars you are not getting right now. And here is where people count themselves out again, so let me clear this up. It is true that this program looks at your resources, your savings, but the home you live in does not count against you, and your car generally does not count either. So do not look at the house you own and decide you are disqualified before you even ask. This benefit was built for exactly the person who worked their whole life, gets a modest Social Security check, and is quietly coming up a little short every single month. Think of a man I will call Tom, 38 years on the job, a small pension that eventually went away, and a Social Security check that just does not stretch to the end of the month anymore. Tom was certain that SSI was welfare and that he would never see a dime of it. He was wrong on both counts. A partial SSI check started landing on top of his Social Security, a few $100s every month. And for the first time in years, the math actually worked out. If that sounds like you or like someone you love, this is the part to really pay attention to. How do you claim it? You apply directly through the Social Security Administration. You can do it online, over the phone, or in person at your local SSA office, and it is completely free to apply. You do not need to pay anyone anything to file this for you. Now let me tell you why this year specifically is the year to go check all 3, even if you looked once before and got turned down or gave up. At the very end of last year, the annual cost of living adjustment moved the numbers. The SSI amount went up. The income limits on these programs shifted, and the Medicare premium changed. And when those numbers move, the line for who qualifies moves right along with them, which means people who were just barely over the edge last year can be sitting comfortably under it this year without changing one single thing about their own lives. So if you checked 2 or 3 years ago and decided you made too much, that decision is out of date. The line moved. Go check again. I have watched this happen up close. Someone gets told no, you are $50 a month over the limit, and they take that like a permanent life sentence and never try again. But that limit is not carved in stone. It goes up a little almost every year when the cost of living adjustment kicks in. So that $50 that shut the door last year, this year the door may already be wide open, and nobody is going to call you to let you know it swung open. The only way you ever find out is by checking again. It cost you one phone call. It could be worth thousands of dollars. So let me add it all up for you, because I think when you see it stacked together, it lands differently. The Medicare Savings Program, if your state takes over that Part B premium, that is more than $2,400 a year back in your Social Security check. And in the most generous version, your deductibles and copays disappear on top of that. The energy assistance up to around $1,000 a year toward heating and cooling paid straight to your utility company. And SSI for the right person, that is up to nearly $12,000 a year. And even a partial check is thousands. Add those together, and for a lot of you, we are not talking about pocket change. We are talking about the difference between a retirement where every single month is a white-knuckle squeeze and one where you can finally breathe. And here is what I want you to really hear. The seniors who collect all of this are not smarter than you, and they did not earn it more than you. They simply found out it existed, and they filled out the form. That is the only difference between them and the 1 in 3 who never claim a single dollar. And now you know it exists too. Let me make that real with one person. Picture a single senior on a modest Social Security check who happens to qualify for all three. Her state picks up her Part B premium. That is around $2,400 a year back in her check. The energy program covers a portion of her heat in the winter and her cooling in the summer, several hundred more. And a partial SSI check quietly tops up the months that used to come up short. Stack those together and you are looking at thousands of dollars a year, tax-free, flowing to a woman who 12 months ago would have told you flat out that the government did not owe her a thing. That is what claiming all three can actually look like. Now, before I give you the last and most important piece, I want to mention something I put together because so many of you have asked me for it. Everything I cover on this channel, the benefits most seniors never claim, the checks and credits hiding inside programs you already touch, the tax breaks, the ways to protect your Social Security and your home, all the moves that keep every dollar you are owed in your own pocket. I put all of it in one place in plain English in a guide called the Senior Money Playbook. It is written so it is easy to follow step by step, with the actual numbers to look for and the exact words to say when you call. If you want it, the link is down in the description below. But everything you need to take the first step on all three of these is right here in this video. So let me give you that last piece. Here is what I want you to do. Do not let another year go by leaving this money on the table because you assumed at your own kitchen table that you did not qualify. Take these one at a time. For the Medicare Savings Program, call your State Health Insurance Assistance Program, SHIP, or your state Medicaid office. For the energy help, dial 211 or find your local energy assistance office. And do it soon while the funding is still available. And for SSI, go straight to the Social Security Administration. All three are completely free to apply for. And remember what I told you about the phone. The government is not going to call you and ask for your bank number to hand you these benefits. You go to them. You never give your information to whoever called you. Because here is the truth underneath all of this. Nobody is going to knock on your door and hand you what you are owed. The system is quietly set up to keep paying only the people who ask. And it will happily let you go your entire retirement without claiming a single dollar of this if you let it. The only person who is going to make sure you get every dollar with your name on it is you. If this opened your eyes, do one thing for me. Share it with someone you love who is 65 or older, especially anyone on a tight fixed income who is convinced the government does not owe them a thing. They may be sitting on thousands of dollars a year they have never once heard of, and they are the least likely person to ever go find it on their own. You can be the reason they finally do. Subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so the next one finds you.